First of all, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. I think you'll find it very helpful. One of the things I often find is that there is a disconnect between what someone thinks they're saying and what they're actually saying. Okay, you know, I've worked within a lot of companies, and I've worked in a lot of situations where the perception of reality is very different than reality itself. And the reason we're all here for this next 20 minutes is to try and help you maximize the potential outcomes of the meetings that you're going to have with the various delegates. So, Jason, I just want to talk to you, turn it to you very quickly, then I'm going to talk to our three delegates. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Firstly, thank you very much for sponsoring the Elite Summit. Obviously, we wouldn't be where we are after 13 events if it wasn't for you guys, so thanks very much indeed. One of the things we try and do is optimize the way that we can help you get the maximum out of these types of events. And one of my colleagues, Sophie Capio, came up with an idea of Todd Benjamin doing an interview with three of our leading private wealth investors, which are on the stage here, who've given allocated money to our clients over a number of years. And on the far side there, we have Ulf Bonner, welcome Ulf, and Frederick Goblet, welcome Frederick, and Patrick Schneiders. And the purpose of this session is for Todd to interview them, ask them a few questions, which hopefully will give you an insight to what our family office clients are expecting of over the next 3 days. Yeah, over to you, Todd.
Thank you so much. We had lunch together, and one of the very interesting things that came out of that is I asked, you know, why do you come to these summits? And you said really it's looking for unique products. Is that correct? Yeah. Please, yeah.
I think this is an excellent forum for us who are investors, because we get the chance to see very many managers in a very short period of time. And we have found, I've been coming, I think, 6 times to this event, only here, but also going to London and in Germany. I think it's very helpful. We have invested with a number of the managers, so that's why I'm coming back.
Okay, Frederick, and then Patrick, very quickly.
Yeah, I guess what is very important for us is that the same way that you are actually selling investment ideas to us, we try to differentiate ourselves as well to families that we cover, and the same way you sell to us, we have to sell back those ideas to the families. So for us, this forum is absolutely key, a key opportunity to meet things that you don't find in the main products or the main investment opportunities that the banks and the big investment firms do provide.
Okay. In fact, I can only repeat, we are always coming here to find a good idea, like my colleague said, and if one idea lasts after the summit, it's a success, I would say.
Okay. One of the things that happens, obviously, so what you're hearing from these delegates, and they have bought product at these meetings, is they are looking for an opportunity. So the opportunities are there, but it's all about the right fit, and it's about process, okay? And it was very interesting talking to you at lunch, because what happens a lot of times, I talked about this idea of reality versus perception of reality. You may think you put together a terrific slide deck, but think again, okay? Hear what these delegates have to say. What do you think the biggest mistake most of these solution providers make is, do they approach it correctly when they're having meetings with you, and what do they need to change, if anything? Both, yeah.
I think if I look on most of the presentation, I think they could be done a lot better. We don't want to see 20 pages. The key thing is to have a presentation which very clearly on page 1 says why. The number 2 is the terms of the fund and the structure, because if it's the wrong structure, we can't invest anyway. And always to sum it up in the end, because you only remember, if you see 10, 15 managers, you will only remember the first page and the last page. So you must be much more focused, and you must ask much more who we are, what our processes are, and how we work, and especially how we want it to be delivered.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I agree with Ulf. And to come back to the question of Todd, the biggest mistake is that the managers do assume that we know about the asset class beforehand. And most of the delegates, they are generalists. So meaning that today we investigate high yield, tomorrow we investigate private equity, then we invest another asset class. That means that in the 20 minutes time that we have with you guys, it must be extremely clear. And I guess as exactly as Ulf put it, the first thing that we like to know is like, what are we talking about? Most of managers, they also make the mistake by speaking about a team, speaking about people, but they forgot about to say, what are we talking about? So make it clear. This is the asset class. This is the region. Then, obviously, why? Why is it compelling now? And at the end, why is it compelling to do it with you? Because people usually explain as a team, you know, what are they do, what are their strengths, but they forgot to also to position themselves. If you're doing agriculture in Brazil, why should we be talking to you? Are there 10 other players in the same asset class or not? So making it clear that we can identify very quickly in the first meeting why is it compelling to follow up with you. And I guess to finally make sure that, I guess it's an opportunity for you to qualify us as prospects immediately by asking the right question as exactly as Ulf put it.
I think you sponsors are sometimes too ambitious. It can't be the target, I think, to sell it in one time. I think it's only provoking interest, and the follow-up is more important afterwards.
You talk about the follow-up. This was, again, we were having lunch, and I said, how effective are most of these solution providers or sponsors at follow-up? And you know what the answer was? 5%. 5%. Okay, now I hope you're the 5%. But I want to know why only 5% you feel, Frederick, are effective in follow-up, because that is appallingly, shockingly low figure. And if it's only 5%, they are not going to be effective at ultimately making the sale.
Well, I guess it's a follow-up on what I just said. If at the meeting you don't qualify us as a prospect immediately, then you end up with a book of 100 and something delegates where you don't remember exactly who's doing what. And if most of these investment providers, you probably have tons of regions to cover. If you cannot be focused, there's no way you can follow up with each of us accordingly. So it is very important at this 10 or 15 minutes that we have a time is to understand if we as investors, do we invest in the asset class? What sort of ticket can we put in place? Is the structure, does it fit or doesn't fit? So that for you, you have a proper system after to follow up.
Can I add one thing? I don't want to sound arrogant. It's not meant like that, but it's the fact of life. No one has been waiting for you. So that's why it's so important in the follow-up when you send the email that you actually know what I was asking. You can say, these are the 3 questions you posed, here are the answers to it. Because if I get just sent in a PDF file, an attachment, and I'm supposed to search for it, it goes to delete. I'm sorry, because we get so much. So don't forget what we asked and answer this question specifically. That's wonderful.
If I can add one thing about the PowerPoint, that's also a common mistake, is that after a presentation like here, we get an email saying, thank you for attending, and here's a great presentation about our product, and it's 120 slides. Well, there's no way that the Monday morning at 10 o'clock you're going to browse through those 120 slides. So a good advice would be to first, again, an email saying, what did we talk about? This is why you should talk to us, and keep banging on the same door until it clicks, basically.
My experience with the follow-ups is more positive, but in fact, I myself are not really following it up if there was no confidence, in fact, in the first meeting, in the one-to-one meeting. So I think it's all about confidence. If the first thing provokes enthusiasm, interest, and confidence, then we are launched.
You know, you made an interesting point. You know, when we're talking about what makes you decide to invest in a certain product or service, we're talking about this at lunch. You said one of the key factors is trust.
Yeah, it's trust. I've got a small example of someone who had all the things. Good track record, transparent, trustworthy, but it didn't meet his story with our clients. But because he was so trustworthy, I kept following him, and 3 years later, he added something to his product, and the product met with the demands of our clients, and we will now do business with him.
And what has been the key thing that has, in the end, made you decide to go with a certain product, Frederick or Ulf? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a combination of a lot of green lights that pop up. It's the right product at the right time, with the right structure, with the right people. Following up on the trusting, this is something that we raised earlier. Indeed, there's maybe not enough effort done by the providers to give us a certain level of comfort, because it's not like we can send assets from clients all over the world without really knowing what we're talking about, or who do we talk about. And it's not easy to build trust obviously in a few meetings.
So that connection is very, very important, that personal connection. Yeah, Ulf.
So for us, it's very much based on trust and the very in-depth due diligence we do. We only invest in the liquids. We do not do any liquid products whatsoever. So for us, it's do we trust these people? Will we give these people to manage our own money, because we also invest ourselves in very many cases. So we have to have trust. But again, it's about the process, delivering what we want, the way we want it. Because if we're interested in the two competing products to choose from, we will go for the one who does it the way we want it to be done.
Right. And of course, some of this can be done in the follow-up. It doesn't all have to be done in the initial meeting. Okay, any observations or questions from you in terms of these delegates? This is a gold mine of information in terms of what does or doesn't work. Anyone have a question that they want to follow up with? No? Jason, I throw it back to you then for some, excuse me, we have one right here. I apologize. I didn't look to my left here. Yes, great, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to have this session, because it's the first time I'm at such an event. So it's really useful to ask you a question. But do you actually want to see the slides and all the attachments? Because I get the feeling, I mean, in how much detail you actually want to go.
Yeah. I think being succinct and having a clear story.
We need a big presentation for our files, because we will do them later. But we will decide very quickly on the basis of the summary and the answers to questions we give, if we're going to proceed further. But we always need a big presentation. But you can't just send it out. So our structures, we want summaries, bullet points. When we open the email, we see straight what it's all about, and then we have the files attached.
Well, I guess an answer to your question is the same thing, the same way we do it ourselves. When we have finally decided on an investment opportunity for our families, the first thing we do ourselves is to rewrite the concept and make an investment teaser, and in the same structure. This is the investment manager, this is where they operate, this is why we picked it. And there's also something that we add that I've very rarely seen at manager presentation. What are the risks of the investment ideas, and what are the mitigation, what are the things that you as a team put in place to actually decrease those risks? I never see that in any sponsor presentation. So answer to your question, I guess, do I want to see a PowerPoint? I'd rather see a teaser, then you make my life easier, because I will take that away easier in my luggage, because obviously 100 presentations do not fit in the carry-on.
Okay. Jason, I'm going to throw this back to you.
Okay, well, look, I think that was great feedback there. From my perspective, I mean, I've been with the company now for 12 years, and a number of my clients I've been working with for pretty much all that length of time. And, you know, the likes of Blue Bay, our biggest client, that pretty much do every summit that we do, apart from the Latin events. And there's a couple of guys from Blue Bay here, so perhaps it might be an idea if over the course of the next few days you went up to them and asked what their secret of their success is. They've been tremendously successful, apart from having great staff and fantastic products. They are very, very sharp when it comes to the follow-up process. And when I do calls with people, I've spoken to a number of people in this room, and when I travel around the world, one of the things is preparation. You know, how you actually go about those follow-up meetings, try and get those penciled in. When you hear that bell go at the end of the meeting, that's your cue to lock that follow-up meeting in. And also, when the meetings are finished, when each block of meetings is finished, please then start to send off those emails to those clients, answering their questions and confirming the next step in that process. This is all about building relationships over a period of time. Nobody's going to give you money over the course of the next 3 days, but if you make those relationships, they will do in the future, because the people here, friends of mine as well, who I've worked with over many summits, everybody comes here with an open mind to learn about new strategies and create opportunities for themselves. Just on a closing point, Next year's summit, I know you've been spoken about that by your account executives, will be back here in May rather than in June. We are at capacity almost for next year's event, so I would encourage all of you, if you haven't already confirmed your position for next year, if you want to come back, to do so over the course of today, if not before lunchtime tomorrow. Other than that, we'll be sold out, and we'll have to think about alternative opportunities. But nevertheless, I think what we must do now is move back to the other side of the hotel to start the one-to-one meetings. Good luck, and thank you very much for your business.
Thank you for your time. Best of luck, and some very, very valuable advice. See you all later.
I just have maybe a closing thing. Patrick said something extremely important, and I think it misses also a lot of time, is enthusiasm. This is speed dating. So in 20 minutes, you get to have the other person to be enthusiastic about what business you're in. So people talk about facts and figures, but they forgot about making it exciting, saying, this is the opportunity now.
And
so
that's a fantastic point. In fact, Marcus Evans has given you a checklist of 7 things you should do. The last one on there is passion. Go be passionate. Have great meetings. Thanks a lot.